Okay, so this is hopefully this time YouTube is working, and this is the first time if it is working, the first time I'm actually streaming to multiple platforms. It's also the first time I'll actually be working on a track while streaming later on in the process, other than just starting a piece of music. And also what I'm actually going to do in it is the first time I'll be doing in terms of what I'm actually doing to this track, which I'll talk about in a second. But the reason I'm doing this at all is because I had a coaching session with my business coach this morning, and one of the things, I was talking to him about a lot of the people I help, a lot of my clients who literally their income over the next, I don't know how long it's going to be. They don't know how long it's going to be. Has literally just disappeared. The vast majority of their income, because a lot of my clients are full-time musicians, producers, composers who play live, and massive amounts of their income. I mean, like 80%, 90%, even near 100% of their income comes from live events, and obviously, completely understandably, a lot of them are running around with their hair on fire in full-on freak-out panic mode, and I want to help them. And it was something really interesting that he said to me was, well, obviously now they have a scarcity of money coming in, but what do they have an abundance of now? And obviously the answer to that question is now they have an abundance of time. And while time isn't going to feed your family or keep a roof over your head as directly as money, in some ways money and time are interchangeable. You can pay people to do things which give you more time. Similarly, with your time, you can do things which pay you money, either immediately, like in the present moment. So for instance, doing a live gig is an example of that, or making music is an example, or building other income streams in your music business would be another example. And as I was talking about my clients, I was also thinking about myself, because I'm not in as terrible a situation yet, obviously, because I'm not doing live gigs anymore, although I did them for years. So I'm really feeling that pain in many different ways, not as directly, obviously. But I thought about my situation and how I could help, how I could actually change some of the things I'm doing, so that I could use some of my time to kind of do my small part to kind of do something about the crisis that we're in. Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not I don't have any expertise in that area, so there is a limited amount I can directly do. But I thought one of the things that I can do is stop, shelve some of the things that I was doing, and spend more of my time actually just being out there, delivering information, and kind of showing people what I'm doing, almost like modeling what I'm doing in this kind of situation where, quite understandably, a lot of people are completely freaked out. I mean, I get very freaked out by it all as well. But one of the things that I've found is that by doing the things that both set me up for the future and things that I can actually control, one of them being making music, I can it allows me to think way more clearly. So hang on, I'm just looking here. There we go. Yes, I lost the comment overlay there, so I can't see any comments coming in. So Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Hello, is it Seda or Kada? But, hi, nice to see you. So what I'm doing right here now is I'm working on this track, which is called I Want to Exist. I don't know whether that's what it will be called in the end, but at the moment that's what it's called. And it was in my automatic music machine, which is the thing I use to kind of track and kind of figure out what I'm going to do to the various pieces of music. It was in my done column. And the done column isn't the last column, the release column is. So I was actually preparing it for release. But when I was preparing it for release, I kind of got another idea, which meant that I had more work to do. And that was around a little motif that I want to develop. Because basically, there's this... I'll play it actually at the end. That's the best place to play it because it's pretty obvious there. So the piano coming in now is going to be the thing I'm talking about. Okay, so that little melody, this whole section wasn't in here originally, but that kind of melody came from this part here, which was something that actually this was in the very first time I came up with this tune. I came up with the idea, and it was just a little thing that I improvised on the initialize preset of Diva. So I didn't even choose a preset, it's just the first thing that comes up, right? So, and it goes like this. Rewind it a bit from here. Let's go. Okay, this thing about to come in now. Oops. Made things go out of time there by moving that. Come on, catch up. Okay, so you can hear that part there, right? So that was the initial part. Right, and then it goes on with the second half of the thing. And obviously in the piano, the new piano part that I just put in at the end, that is now changed to. So instead of It's, oops. Okay, and essentially this bit in the middle, not much happens. Now, aside at the moment, because this used to be the end, this middle bit here used to be the end of the track. Okay, so not much happens at all, and it's got no reference to what is now an important little melody in the track. And it always bothered me, right, that I had this random little thing that happened, and then there was nothing else. It just didn't. I didn't do anything with it, which is why I ended up putting the kind of development of it at the end. So what I want to do is something, a very simple version of what what classical composers kind of do as a matter of course, which is take a tiny little motif, like this, for instance. Oh, I keep on moving the thing. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, that's a tiny little motif, and then develop it in lots of different ways. I mean, if you think of Beethoven's Fifth, dun, 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 that whole piece, that movement of that symphony is about basically dun, 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 you know, just those few notes. And while I mean, it's going to be a very simple version of it because I've never done this before. I mean, I used to study it as an undergraduate at Oxford in terms of analysing classical music, but I've never actually done it myself before, this kind of motivic development. And I'm not going to be very good at it because I've never done it before. And I almost, I mean, I know what I need to do, but I've never actually tried it. I've never put it into practice, and I don't know how it's going to work in a piece which, you know, this kind of music tends to be much more static in a way, in that it doesn't develop kind of bar to bar in the same way. It's much more repetitive, and it repeats a thing and then something else happens. But it's something that I just want to explore. And I mean, as this was what I was going to do today anyway, I just decided to do it live. So that's probably a rather idiotic thing for me to do, because, as I said, I've never done this before, ever. Okay, so what I've done in my automatic music machine here, and this card is representing the thing, is I've made a... Hang on a minute, where's it gone? That's weird. How did that happen? Maybe I put it in the wrong card. Yes, I did. Okay, I put it in the wrong card. So and sorry about the running around upstairs. I've got children upstairs, so I just have to deal with the crazy sounds upstairs. Right. Is I put a checklist. But what I might do actually is just copy it into this card so that I don't get confused. Copy items from, what was it? Oh. Copy items from Reich Beltram Part 2. It's going to be fun trying to find this. Does that work? Yep, it does. These are all the tunes that I've been working on over the last 18 months or so. Right, Beltram Part 2, and I think it's, what was it in? I'll just check. What is it? Discovery sessions, okay. Yeah, I just put the checklist in the wrong card. Okay. There we go. So these are all the old ones. Yep. Okay. Now I've got it in the right card. Okay. got no idea what they're doing up there. Oh, it sounds like they're building something. Anyway, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to identify the motifs in the brassy solo. Then I'm going to splurge 5 variations per motif on piano. It might not be that splurgy, but anyway. And these are the ideas that I've got for them. Okay. So if we listen to the brassy solo here, essentially there are, let's just solo it. Alright, so that's one motif. So yeah, and then the other ones that follow are basically that motif again. Oh no, they're not. They're not in this version. Okay, that's one motif, and here's another motif. The second thing that plays is another motif. I mean, it's just 2 notes, right? But it's still a motif, right? I mean, you could say that is the motif, or you could say that is one and that is the other. Doesn't matter. Okay, so I've either got 1 or 2 there. But I'm going to say that this is the motif, the second motif. Yeah, so this is 1. I'm going to say that this is the second because of what happens next. Yeah, so that's the second motif repeated, just to note down. So just to recap, we've got okay, so that's 2. So I'm identifying the motifs. I'll write these down so I've got them noted down. Motif 1 is the descending 1, 2, 3, 4 descending 4 notes. Okay. Motif 2 is is the how do I describe that? 3 note 3 note descending 1 tone. I'll know what it means anyway, it doesn't matter. And I mean, I could call them Bill, Bob and Arthur, and I'd probably know what they mean. And let's see if this is a different one. Okay, so this is just another version of the first one. Yeah, it's just got an additional note. It's just, you know, and that is the same. And I don't think this really, I could describe this bit as a motif. I suppose I could say let's just listen to the part at the end of the piano back here, because maybe that's clearer. I'm not sure it is though. Okay. So I'm just trying to make it so you can see the screen. Still haven't quite got my head around all the things you need to think about when you're live streaming. There we go. Right, so where is it? It's over here. suppose I could say that the final motif is okay, so let's call it 3-note cadence or something like that. Right. Motif 3, 3-note cadence. And actually, what this is already doing is making me think about what a melody, what the component parts of a melody is actually made of, because you know it's only really made of a few kind of component parts, and if you think of developing each of these individual motifs, then it's almost like you have you're kind of talking about the smallest, I mean, other than a single note, you're talking about the smallest kind of granular version of granular part of a melody. Then you've got unlimited potential to just use that one melody, because this one melody is just one version of those three motifs put together. Okay, so now I know what the motifs are that I want to develop in this central section here. Okay, so actually what I'm thinking now, and I didn't even think about this, is that what this is looking like to me kind of is, in a way, I mean it's not really, in a way is what's called a sonata form in, I mean it's not for sonata form, so if anyone who's a classical composer is watching this, don't be laughing at me right now. But what sonata form is that you've got an exposition, so in other words this kind of playing of the melody would be the exposition, and then you've got a development, and then you've got a recapitulation. So this would be the recapitulation, and the recapitulation is basically when the motif comes back. So what I'm kind of doing, wanting to do here, or at least wanting to try, if it doesn't work it's okay, it's not the end of the world, wanting to try here is developing these little motifs. Okay, so the next step I have done, so I've done that. Splurge 5 variations per motif on piano. Okay, so the first one I've got is that can't sing it. All right. And what I'm going to do is probably mute some of the stuff that's going on here, because for instance at this point I've got this string, where it's kind of like a pad thing. I'll just play it to you actually. Yeah. So that, you know, before that was the kind of the main thing that happened there. I'm going to mute that for now, just so I can kind of freely play some. See what I might even change. I might even mute that as well. That's kind of puts it into a sort of tonality. I want to keep this going. I definitely want to keep that stuff going, which is the that. Okay. All right. Let's see what my half time. All right. Let's try half time first. Okay. And again, forgive me, you are not at this point watching an expert do motivic development or try it. You are watching a complete beginner. So goodness knows what I'm actually going to end up with, but that's what's so fun about it. Right, okay, so I mean, that's the half time. It's very, very obvious. So, oh, blimey, that's loud. Calm you. Just turn that up a bit. Okay. Maybe I've got this turned up too loud, actually. I'm going to deafen myself if I'm not careful. Right. Okay, so that's not definitely, it wasn't half time, but it was slower. That'll do for me. Right, let's just leave that in there. So let's just call that. Right, motif. Oh, crikey. Motif 1, variation 1. Started from where I actually started it. And also bear in mind that while I'm doing these on the piano, that may well not, in fact it almost definitely won't for a fair few of these, the ones that I use, end up on a piano. They're not all going to be on a piano. It's just the piano is it's a sound that isn't too, you know, it's not a sound designing sound. It's just a sound. So yeah, it's kind of a bit like writing a song with the piano or something like that. So sometimes I wonder whether that door is this door or not. Anyway, next motif. Repeated art-like piano pattern. Okay. Let's see if I can play this. Start again. The answer is no. He can't play it. Hello. I need to get this right first time. Okay. Let's just make myself sound a little bit less rubbish. What I've started to do actually with these kind of parts in here, particularly on the piano, is print them out and start practicing them. Because what I actually want to do eventually, before I finish this, is to be able to play a live take of them and it be a live take rather than me quantizing things and things like that. Just because I want to get that kind of human feel in. That's also why I'm practicing the piano every day, to try and become a better piano player, so I don't need to spend so long doing all of that kind of nonsense. So that's motif 1, variation 2. Whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. Oh. So I had I don't know whether you know this, but I had a extended, I gave up making music for 8 years while I focused on coaching people with their creativity and with making more music and making better music, and also building their music businesses. So I stopped making music for years, and I only started again 18 months ago, so I haven't quite got my head around quite a lot of back into things like keyboard shortcuts and stuff. So if you notice that I'm not very good at all that stuff, that's why. So, right, okay, half time. Opposite shape. Okay. So if the opposite shape, if the shape is, it would be. Okay. Okay, what's happening? Well, I'm having a problem. How can I fix this? So I'm having a problem with the CPU because this is playing a lot of notes. how do I want to fix this? Maybe what I need to do is actually start putting these onto a different instrument for now. Something very light. I wonder what happens if I actually try Keyscape instead. I don't know how heavy a load that places on the poor CPU. Let's give it a go anyway. Because really, I don't want to faff around with finding the right sound or anything like that at this point. I just want to put the variations in. It's amazing, isn't it? It doesn't matter how hardcore your the computer you get is. I mean, this is like a 10-core iMac Pro with 64 gigabytes of RAM. You always manage to run out, no matter what you do. A bit like time in that way, right? Anyway, so yeah. In fact, I'll use a different, just to remind me. Okay, so maybe that will. Let's just get you going in there. Tell you what I really want at some point is an actual piano, because it doesn't matter what, I mean, the piano sound that I'm using that I really like, which is the Spitfire one, the Olafur Arnold's one, the felt piano, it still isn't an actual piano. Anyway. Okay, so that seems to be a little bit less hardcore on the poor CPU. So what I'm going to do is copy this over. Oh no, copy that over. Copy another one of them. Will I? No, I won't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to, I don't know which one it is. I think, yeah. Where are you? Move you up. I'll find it easier. Oh. So I'm a bit louder than usual. Right, okay, so we've got motif 1, variation 1 and variation 2. And now we want to have, what was it? So now we have that first. The timing on that first. Hang on, so let's just get this right. Okay, it's very, very, very simple. What did I do? And that's not right. Right, no. Okay, that's a weird note, but I'm going to leave it in because it seemed to work. Okay, isn't that amazing how much you can get out of just one little tiny motif? All the same motif developed. What development basically means is variations. By the way, I just need to shout out, if you like, what has got me going on all this. So one of the people who is doing the Leap, which is my kind of flagship program, where I teach the automatic music machine. This isn't exactly the automatic music machine because it's a whole system for what you do in various parts of the process, and this is just the thing that shows you what you're doing when, the Trello thing. But essentially, it's it's where I teach the automatic music machine and also the magnet model, which is how to build other income streams which aren't reliant on touring. But anyway, so one of the guys going through that is a classical composer. Actually like doing really well in terms of classical composers. Done some stuff which you will have heard of. I can't say what it is because I haven't said, he hasn't told me it's okay to say what it is, but anyway, he's doing the Leap, and we're kind of in the midst of sort of discussions around slightly adapting the automatic music machine for his situation, which is much more about this kind of motivic development. And I was already, because of my background as a classical player and doing music degree at Oxford University and everything, it was a very academic degree where you did lots of analysis, and for all of my career I've been making electronic music, which is a very different kind of thing, where you have an idea, and largely the development that happens to that idea is often repetition and things changing around it a lot, or there being completely different section. kind of more, it's more on the pop end, and I've been interested in exploring this whole area of using some classical compositional techniques in my electronic music, just because it makes sense, because that's kind of partly where I come. I played in orchestras all my life. I was in fact you might not know this, but I was the contrabassoonist, the double bassoonist in the National Youth Orchestra of Great Britain for a couple of years. You know, my background isn't just classical music. I did other things as well. I did, played in all kinds of things. But I have a very kind of strong classical background, so it would make sense if I'm going to express myself as a musician to actually bring some of that, more of that into my music. And one of the things I wanted to do was explore this whole area of developing motifs and everything. But I kind of didn't know where to start, and it was kind of on the back burner. But in talking to the guy who's going through the leap, and in talking to him about, how he can use the machine for the way that he makes music, I was like, okay, so are there any books that you can recommend, or any resources you can recommend? Because while I understand what motivic development is, almost like to listen to it and analyze it and describe it, actually doing it in terms of how where it comes in the process kind of thing, I hadn't really done it myself. So anyway, he recommended this book by a guy called Alan Belkin called Musical Composition. Does what it says on the tin. If anyone's from my generation in the UK, it's a Ron Seal name. It does what it says on the tin. And so I read that book, and that instantly gave me the idea to do this. So if you're at all interested in what I'm talking about here, get that book, Alan Belkin, Musical Composition. He's also got a YouTube channel where he has videos about musical composition. I mean, his audience is definitely classical composers. So if you're not, if you haven't got some kind of a background in the sort of music theory and that kind of thing, it might be a little bit like gobbledygook. I don't know actually whether it will be or not, but I just wanted to give that a shout out. So anyway, coming back to this. Trying not to get distracted by my children upstairs. Where are we? What am I doing? Here we go. Yeah, so I've done motif. Where is it? Here we are. Motif 1, opposite shape, different rhythm. Okay. Let's think. Bear in mind, I'm putting these things in not because I'm necessarily going to use them all. Does that make sense? So this isn't like what the tune is going to sound like. At the moment, I'm just putting in variations, so that I have something to work with, And there seems to be some shouting going on upstairs, so apologies for that. All right. Okay. I go up there and take over in 45 minutes, so I don't think that I'm just fiddling while my house burns upstairs or anything. I guess I am in a way, but That's what I always do. I decide what to do. Wait a minute, what was that? That was a bit weird. Yeah, I decide what to do, and then I forget what it was I decided. All right. What I might do actually is, instead of using the same instrument, use a different one because of the pedal. I think I might have used the pedal automatically. The pedal is messing with my melons, as they say. That's variation 3, isn't it? Motif 1, variation 3. Okay, so now I'm experiencing another thing about live streaming I hadn't really thought of, which is, what do you do when you want to go to the toilet? Mike Monday needs a whittle. Anyway, I'm going to continue with variation 4, and maybe I will just go away and do a whittle in a second, but anyway, let's go. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we had some slight variations on the variations there by the way I was playing it. I'm just going to keep those in for now. Oh, what are you doing up there, guys? Okay. It's weird. Maybe that's my thing. So one of the things that's interesting here, which is something I'll have to think about, and I might not be able to sort it out in the writing of this tune, is that the way I'm doing, the way this is, like I'm automatically thinking about this, because I'm so in the electronic music paradigm, which is a lot about layering things on top of each other. I mean, I know I'm just coming up with the variations at this point, is that it's like my natural inclination, because of the many years I've been making electronic music, would be to have a section where all of these parts and various different noises come in and layer up like that. That isn't how a classical composer would think about it, or that's not how they would do it. They might occasionally in certain sections, but a classical composer would cut, like each kind of bar is another development of the thing, and it's an ongoing kind of development. It's kind of like that. So that's the bit that I haven't figured out yet, and I'm not sure I want to go in that direction even. I don't know. It's just something to bear in mind, because this seems to be working quite well at the moment, just coming up with different motifs and kind of layering like that. It's actually, you know, a really good way, obviously, of having a simple melody and then writing lots of parts, yeah, that work together, because they're all basically the same part. They're all variations of the same part, which is something I've never really done it in that way before. Maybe I've done it unconsciously without thinking about it, but I've never done it like this. So this is good, but it would be interesting to think about how a classical composer would do it, and if it's possible to do something similar in an electronic piece of music. I'm sure it is possible, but possible and something that people will want to listen to is the other thing, I think. Anyway, so let's just look at this one. So that one was different rhythm. Now, I kind of cheated a bit because it's not. I didn't just go. Because the original is. Yeah. So I didn't just go. Yeah, or. I wanted to, it kind of almost wasn't different enough. Yeah, because a different rhythm is also the first one I did. Yeah. So for different rhythm I did. And with these kind of things where you're kind of giving yourself sort of directions, you don't want to be too slavish about them in general. Just kind of interpret them in a way which you think works in the music as you're doing it. You think might work. You don't even need to have that higher bar. Change notes. Okay. Let's just play something. What was the initial thing I did? What was that? What does that remind me of? Reminds me of something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. Let's just see what happens. I'm just going to play it around a bit, I think. I'm trying to do is not make it too much about that rhythm. Yeah, so I'm trying to have a little bit of contrast there. Not that I'm necessarily going to play all these at the same time, so I'll keep reminding myself. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do. That'll do. Oops. Something's going on with me. My headphones situation. Right, I've got 35 minutes. I'm not sure I'm going to have time to do the motivic variations on the second or third motif. I'm not sure I need to. I mean, it might be interesting. Okay. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to mute myself and then unplug myself for a second. I'm going to go and use the toilet. I will be back shortly with the end of this broadcast, so give me 2 secs. I'm back. So I think what I'm going to do for this session, because I haven't got time to do anything else, is... Hello, where you gone? Right, there we go. Right, so what I need to do is I need to figure out what to do with these variations. And I don't need to do that now. In fact, it would probably be best that I don't. And the reason for that is one of the things I've noticed from... Oh, hang on a minute, what's going on there? No. Oh. We've lost camera 2. Camera 2, where are you? It's weird. You probably won't need camera 2 anyway. Well, let's just do something else. Let's try this. Come on, where are you? So there's teething problems to do with not being that good at live streaming. maybe I trod on camera 2 and it came unplugged. Anyway, we don't need it. What I wanted to do is this. Ooh. Ooh, there we go. A nice circle. Right, so because I'm mainly going to be using the screen now, so that's good. Okay, so what I need to do is, I'm really thirsty. What I first need to do is drink some water. So the question is, right, what I was talking about, the obvious electronic music producer type thing to do, well, kind of, would be to just layer these up on different sounds maybe, or you could even do it on the same sound, but kind of on different sounds. So it's a kind of, this development is essentially a build up into this section here. Okay. And if that works, then fine. I don't have a problem with doing that exactly. But while I have used I have taken something from classical music in the sense that I've taken the idea of having a motif and then sort of doing various different variations of it, and then it's not it's not the whole banana, if you like. And in a sense, doing that, just like doing this and then having that come in there and then that come in there and that come in there and that come in there and then it all dropped down to this, it's almost like it's the easiest thing to do. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I am all about the easiest thing in many different ways. But in terms of my progress as a music producer, it's not pushing me. I mean, that what happened there was a lot easier than I expected, and it kind of came out way better than I expected. I mean, it kind of worked kind of automatically. I don't know why I didn't expect it would, but it did. So what I'm wondering is, do I try and do something more difficult with those different variations, or do I just build them up? Okay, I think what I'm going to do but in order to make that decision, and coming back to what I was just about to say and then forgot to say, in order to make that decision, really what I need to do is know what the music needs, right? Because at the end of the day, the music is what it's about. I'm not what it's all about. I'm merely the thing that is kind of directing the flow of the music. So what I need to know is, what would the right thing, or the best thing, or not the best thing, what would when I say the best of the two options, yeah, not the best possible thing, what of those two options, layering those parts up, or doing some kind of slightly more complicated sort of motivic development with those variations where they change through, yeah, of those two options, which is the best for the music, for this piece of music? That's the decision I need to make. And the problem I'm in at the moment is, and this is the problem that anybody who is a music maker is in, is that because I've spent all of this time writing those variations, I've been in the creative process, I'm actually not, in my current state, best placed to know what the best thing to do is. Okay? Because I'm kind of by definition not objective about what I'm doing, because I am in it. Okay? And the amount of time this is taking me, which is a fair amount of time, is just kind of exacerbating that, making that worse. Yeah, it's like I'm highly unlikely to know clearly what the best route is out of those two things. Okay, so what do you do in that situation? Well, what you do is you do something, okay, which means that you can actually listen to it at a later date, and then you make the decision outside of the creative process. Or at least, when I say you make the decision, you make a decision of what to actually try first. Okay, Now, but in order to do that, just having all of these playing at the same time probably isn't going to give me the most information. Okay. So probably I could do two things here. I could simply just put them back to back. Not sure how much information that will give me, however, or I could just layer them up and then see how, or I could layer them up, see how, and then export it and see how that sounds. I think that's the easiest thing to do in this situation, so that's what I might actually do. And in terms of the order I lay them, I might as well just put them in the order I wrote them. So I'm not sure how that's going to work on. And also I'm not sure what's going to go on with this, this harmonic part here. Let's just see. Actually, I know what I'm going to do. Right, that makes right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a mixture. Some of the things I'm going to have coming in after each other, and some of them I'm going to they're going to be layers, right? Because then, yeah, and I'm not going to try and get it right. I'm just going to try and get something that I can have an opinion about later. Okay, so. Yes, please go outside. Mummy's right. Right, okay, so. I don't know whether you can hear that screaming and shouting. It's most distracting. Anyway. So obviously I need to start that in a particular place. Well, they're obviously not going outside. No. Yeah, okay, so I was just trying out these pads. What I'm going to do, because I really do like what they do. Will it work if I do this? Right, so what I'm thinking about now is, so let me just mute these and I just want to explain my dilemma. Okay, so I really like the way that you get this kind of, so you're in a sort of particular mode, if you like, harmonically, yeah, and then this 808 kick and these pads here kind of go ooh like that. Yeah, so I don't want to lose that in all of this stuff that I've been doing. What I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to have that there like that, and I'm going to stop it there, and then this stuff is going to start happening here. Now that's probably not, that's not going to be the final whatever I do, but I just need to have something to listen to. Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay, maybe bring those two in at the same time. Maybe bring that in there. See what happens. Okay. So in its current state, this isn't going to make a lot of sense musically, because why would you have that and then this? Okay, but again, what I'm doing at this point is making something I can listen to and have an opinion about later. So all I need is the two different things I want in there, and figure out by thinking about it almost how I'm going to do that. Okay, because it might be the case that this wants to come afterwards. The thing is, I've only got like 15 minutes left, so I haven't got time to kind of figure it out, and I'm not in the best position to, as I already said, psychologically kind of thing, because I'm not objective. So here we go. Transpose that up, just make it clearer. so that's just one of those. Alright. So I'm doing all of it. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, aside from that, obviously, which is going all the way through, I'm going to start by doing them one after the other. And then I'm going to layer them. So that I basically get best of both worlds. I can listen to, oops. I can listen to it later and go, okay, what am I actually going to do? Sometimes I hate working in DAW. It's just so like. And then. Something like that anyway, let's just see. I thought it was doing it to the parts. Maybe this is the part to read and see. Fool, Michael. I'm gonna Q. There we go. Of that. It's a bit weird when it's on its own, being that staccato. One, do that. All right. Okay, let's just move all that along. Again, this is really all over the place, but I don't mind because it's enough for me to get some ideas of what to do next. Mistake there, but I'm not going to change it now. And these two things aren't going together because one's continuing and the other one is but I'm not going to worry about that either. Just going to let this bit playing just to finish out the live stream because I like this bit. And this isn't going to repeat 3 times like this. I'm going to do different things, but the reason I'm repeating it 3 times is because I've got these live played pad parts here, one on the left and one on the right, and I just wanted to hear them over this idea. So bear in mind, this piano part here, this piano melody, is basically the same motif as what I've been developing here. And that is how this piece is going to end, I'm sure. Something like that anyway. But essentially my next step is to decide, or two things, to decide what to do here, and then to do more here, so that it's not just repeating 3 times. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do next of those 2 things that I need to do. The one I'm more excited about doing is working on this section, but it might make more sense to work on this section. So what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to worry about that, I'm not going to think about that, because I'm going to decide when I listen to it next. Okay? And that is going to be when I get to it, because I've got all of these other things in my machine, in the discover and done at the moment, and essentially I'm going to be cycling through them. So I'm going to work on all of these things before I come back to this one, which will give me a level of objectivity about it. And moving away from the problem, it's like your back brain, if you like, your what am I doing? Is that a save or a bounce now? Yeah, your back brain gets to work on the problem when you're not thinking about it, when you're sleeping and when you're doing other things, and when you're having conversations, when you're eating your dinner, and when you're trying to stop your kids from going completely crazy upstairs. And so when I come to listen to it, and I won't listen to it until I next come to it, and I come to listen to it, I'll have some measure of fresh ears on it, and I'm much more likely to have clear ideas and know what to do next. So that is my session for today. It was rather a long one. I wasn't expecting it to be that long, but as I said, I'm doing something I've never done before, and obviously quite often these things take a bit longer when you've never done them before. So I hope you found that valuable. I'd be absolutely amazed if you've watched the whole of this thing, but just a little peek into me doing something I've not done before, and kind of how I'm starting to think about maybe writing music in the future. So I'm going to continue doing these live streams. I have no idea how many of the platforms that I set up on my Restream actually worked. I know Facebook did, but I'm not sure about any of the others. So, but anyway, I'm going to sort all this stuff out over time, because during this pandemic, I want to do everything I can to sort of be out there helping you with the stuff that you love to do. So until tomorrow, onwards and upwards. And how do I finish? There we go, finish.